Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. First and foremost, I just want to thank all of... I wanted to address some issues with various things. If you haven't seen the first video that I did about Katelyn Davis's suicide, you can watch it. It's up. It is, it's receiving a lot of interesting comments, some good, some not so good, to be expected, because it's a really sensitive issue talking about suicide. I sat here in my car for the last half hour or so, and I was listening very closely to one specific audio that was released, video, I should say. Katelyn Davis, again, if you haven't seen the first video, sadly is a 12-year-old girl who hung herself, I believe a little bit after Christmas of this past year. And it's just it's a heartbreaking story. I wanted to keep it going. I wanted to keep talking about it. I think it's incredibly, incredibly important that we talk about this. There was one specific clip that I was watching. Now, Katelyn obviously loved the idea of broadcasting live on social media. She broadcasted a lot of live streams. She kept the broadcast going a lot when she was at home, when she was having fights with her mother, when she was talking about her depression, when she was talking about having to take her pills and that she was sad, and she wanted a way out. There was one clip that I've just spent the last half hour listening and watching, and I wanted to talk about it because I think it really justifies and sums up this entire situation in a really good, in a really sad, but in a really honest way, if we want to talk about these things, which as bad as you think it is and as hard as it is, and I know a lot of you have been leaving comments saying, you know, that it's insensitive to talk about it, that it's exploitive. I don't think that it is, again, because I do not think that any bad can ever come from talking about things. I was listening to the clip of Katelyn having an argument with her mother. She was having an argument with her mother. I believe she had just come in. They live in a trailer. They don't have very much money. It's obvious. It's not very kept up. It's a very messy... There's children that are her brothers and sisters that she's taking care of. And again, just to say this, I don't know her. I don't know the family, but I will own up to things and apologize if I feel that I spoke too soon, if I judged too soon. I do that all the time. I'm a human being, you know, and I know a lot of people are blaming the mother. And I know that it's very easy to blame the mother when children hang themselves. I did it myself. I am very guilty of doing that. That was the first thing I said, was that the mother is obviously a shit parent. I stepped back, I listened very intently to the video of Katelyn having this argument with her mother. A lot of really key issues were brought up, and the reason why I wanted to keep this conversation going on this topic is because I feel that we're never really going to get an insight into her mind, what she was thinking. We're never really going to know the family, but there's a lot of really revealing things that they spoke about during that argument that I think are incredibly revealing, and we can take a lot of positive things from them. The first being, Katelyn obviously felt that she was asked to be more grown up, and it made me think of that there's a lot of people in the situation right now people in our society who are having children, as I said in the other video, for the wrong reason. They're not ready. They're children themselves. They don't have enough money to raise a child. So because they're so young, what happens a lot is something called a self-perennial child. I believe it's called a self-perennial or a self-parental. Basically what it means is that the child ends up acting like the parent, and the parent, I guess, regresses to the child. I'm going to give the mother a second chance here, because I listened and somebody had left a remark saying that in the second part of the fight, the mother actually did lower her voice. She tried to, she tried to defuse the situation. She tried to talk to her daughter rationally. They begin arguing. Her mom walks in and, she says something like, "I'm going to kick your ass, get in here." And obviously that's not the thing I would say to any child, but she comes in saying that Katelyn is live streaming as is all this is available on the internet if you want to check out any of these videos. She is live streaming. She's very upset. Her mother says, you know, come out here, come out here. She says, give me a second. When they eventually start going at it back and forth, issues were raised such as her mom has to raise money to make sure that they have a roof over their head, that they have electricity, that they have food in their stomachs. And the only way for her to do that has been by selling drugs, prescription drugs. Again, this is all hearsay based on what Katelyn said in her live streams, what I have heard, what I think other people that are watching her story have heard. So I don't know any of this to be true. I don't know any of this to be accurate. But I'm going to go based on what she said. I know a lot of girls that age are very intent on validating their existence because they're not getting the attention that they feel that they need. And, you know, it's happening a lot. There's nothing wrong with that. It's totally understandable. But in her situation, I think it's incredibly telling because I think there's so many situations like that where a mom will have a baby very young. And I think Katelyn even said her mom was 17 years old when she had her. She wasn't ready. So Katelyn is very close in age to her mother, so her mother is out constantly. She never comes home, and when she does come home, you know, they don't feel that, Katelyn doesn't feel that she has the time really to talk about issues with her mother. So she feels that she doesn't care. In that, in the conversation video, or the fight I should say, between Katelyn and her mom, I think it's no more than 20 minutes, but it was just very, very revealing, and I think you can learn, we all can learn a lot from it. She said that, you know, the only way, her mom said apparently she's dealing with chronic pain, so she does whatever she can to make sure that her and her siblings have a roof above her head, have electricity, have Wi-Fi so she can use the phone to talk to people on the internet as she was doing. And the issue about Katelyn being raped or molested or having any sort of improper sexual conduct with a stepfather is brought up in that argument. And it is heartbreaking because I can understand, being someone who has had chronic depression my entire life, I can understand where her triggers were, and I can understand why she felt her mother was a direct cause of all of those things. She mentioned that when this individual tried to hurt her or rape her or, you know, get into her pants, as she even says in the video, you know, she tried to tell her mother about it, but when she finally did, the mother didn't get rid of him right away. It took maybe a little bit longer, and that's where Katelyn felt that her mother didn't care about her. So she says that in the argument. The mother instantly says, that's not true. You know, I got rid of him right away. Katelyn says, but not soon enough. That made me feel like you didn't care about me. All completely valid concerns. And I think when she said that, the mother and the argument took a turn where, again, I can't have children now, biologically. But when when I was in a time in my life when I didn't know if I had problems in that arena, and that wouldn't be an option for me, I never, in my wildest imagination, even if I, you know, was silly and getting drunk, I would never, ever, ever make sure I would get pregnant or get in that kind of a situation, because I couldn't take care of myself, let alone take care of somebody else. But I also, some people could say that I also had certain entitlements, or I had certain privileges that allowed me to avoid that, such as I had a fairly good upbringing. I had a car when I was in college, so I could come and go, but I was also a loner, so I didn't really have an interest in guys or boyfriends or anything like that. But so I would never find myself in that situation where a lot of young people have children, as I said in the other video, for the wrong reasons. And, you know, they're still children and babies themselves, and they realize that they have to make money, and they don't have skills, or they can't get a good job, they can't go to school, there's no time, whatever the excuse is, and the kids end up suffering for it. But in the argument, the mother tries to state her case by saying she has chronic pain, that's why she does these drugs. Katelyn then mentions something about self-harm, mentioning that she was a cutter, which I know a lot of kids do. She said she was very emo. She talked about showing her scars to her mom, saying, how can you say that I don't know what real pain is? Have you even looked at my scars? I have my own theory about cutters and why I do think it is mostly for attention, which is very controversial, and a lot of people disagree with that. I think if you really want to get a better grasp of this whole situation, and I'm keeping the conversation going because I think it's very important, and I think you can learn a lot from it. I think anybody, any age, can learn a lot from this girl's sad death, which it is tremendously sad, but it's also an opportunity. They both had valid issues, and I guess I really wanted to make this video because I felt I didn't give the mother a fair shake. I didn't give her a fair chance because, like all of you, from what I watched online, it appeared that she was just a shitty mother who was running around doing drugs. I'm not giving her a pass by any means. I still think she has a lot of horrible, shitty habits, and I'm sure she's, double thinking every mistake she made in her life now that her daughter's dead and in the ground. But I think that when I heard that argument, I always try to be objective, and if I judge somebody too soon, or if I put somebody in a bad category too soon, and then I do a little bit more, listening or researching on a certain issue or topic, I'm gonna be the first person to say, you know what, I didn't really give her a fair chance. She does try to calm her daughter down, and then at some point Katelyn also says that apparently whoever she was seeing at the time found out that somebody had been raped, and then they went out and murdered them. Her boyfriend, who she met online, again, all internet things, and the mom gave her some really sound advice. She said, you know what, don't go on the internet anymore. Don't get together with these people on the internet that are psychos and sociopaths and psychopaths, whatever it is. And, she said, well, I didn't know he was a psychopath, which, again, she's 12 years old, you guys. She's 12 years old. It's very fascinating and captivating to me that she reverts back and forth so much from being a regular, normal 12-year-old girl and having normal 12-year-old girl concerns to being a adult and a mother figure almost to her two, I think they were her stepbrothers and stepsister, I'm not even sure who. In all of the videos, you hear them running around, you hear them screaming. It's a lot for somebody to live like that. And if you have depression on top of that, I can't even imagine. I mean, I went through all of her videos, and in every single video, at every single time mark, you see those children screaming, running around, half dressed. There's drawing on the walls, and I'm not going to judge the way anybody's lifestyle is, but it's not ideal for somebody who has depression. And I feel that I can say that because I've lived with it my entire life. That's not an ideal environment to live or to get better or to find constructive ways to help you cope with your depression, which usually is lifelong. Having said that, financially, I don't see what the mother could have done, or Katelyn for that matter, to change the situation. So I can get a little bit more now where her mental frame of mind was, and it just takes one little thing to trigger you, and it really is a shame that she saw no way out. And I have been there many times, but I've never, I don't know if maybe it's because I'm too much of a coward, maybe I'm too selfish, maybe I'm too scared that I'd be afraid it would hurt, if I hung myself or, whatever it was, and all kinds of awful things. But I have to think some aspect of our society is responsible for this young girl taking her life, and that's why I say I pray it doesn't get any worse, but I feel it might. Because these things and these behaviors, they don't just, fall into a 12-year-old girl's lap. She has to learn them from somewhere. And I was talking to my husband about it as well. And, I was discussing the actual hanging video, which I will never watch again, and discussing her body movements. And apologies if this is too graphic. If it's too graphic, don't watch. Simple. If you don't like it, don't watch. Click off. Thank you. But thank you for coming anyway. Her body did move a little bit after she hung herself, which was, you know, I'm not morbid. I just research. I want to understand what happened, why. And my husband said that, you know, she probably knew how to tie a noose properly, how to hang herself from the tree. And that information is out there. It's readily available. I don't know if before the internet you could have found that in a library. Maybe you could have, but I know it's much more easy now. And she had a blog called Diary of a Broken Doll. And, you know, people send these tips, and there's these people online I have even heard who are like suicide helpers, where they will talk young people, or anybody for that matter, who happens to be suicidal, into taking their own life. They will offer them options. They will say, this is what you do. This is how you jump off a bridge. And it's like a job, you know, and I think there was one case where that person was eventually tried for murder because they found out that the girl, you know, for some reason she was sad, and they instructed her, go to this bridge, do this, kill yourself this way. And it's really, really scary. Again, I'm conflicted because I do, and this is a totally other issue, which I'll have to do another video about if you want, talking about the right to die, which I'm a huge supporter of. Why I thought Jack Kevorkian got such a horrible rap. And he was actually a really, really good man who took a lot of people out of their misery, who otherwise would have been forced by bureaucratic people to sit in a hospital plugged in for the reasons and needs of other people, except for their own wishes. And I'm a huge supporter of the right to die. I think if you get to a point in your life and you're chronically in pain, or whatever mental reason, and your family supports you, and you can do it in a way that is humane, I think that's your absolute last civic right, and a right, what am I trying to say? I think it's the last most important right, being a human being, is you can choose how you die. Most of us don't get to make that choice, but I don't want to get too far away from Katelyn's story, but let me know in the comments. I know a lot of you think that it's in bad form, these videos, but as I said again, it's an issue that struck me, and these topical videos are the ones that are doing the best, and I think that speaks. And sometimes they're going to be controversial, sometimes they're going to be happy, sometimes they're going to be sad. If you love what you see, share it with other people. If it hits you in some way, if it helps you in some way, that's great. If it pisses you the fuck off and you want nothing to do with me, don't watch it, leave. That's completely fine. I expect that. I am not here to please people. I am not here to have you like me. I am here to be creative and express myself, to talk about things going on in our world that are topical and important, news events, give my opinion on those, be creative, make short movies, short films, things like that. And it's expected that you will either hate me or love me. But usually people that hate me come around, because I always say I'm like a virus, where you will hate me at first if there's something I do or say that really pisses you off. But then something else will come out that I'll do, and you'll say, that Jamie Lee Fisher, I'm going to give her a second chance. And then you stay. I'm not saying that you should do that. I'm just saying give it a chance. And to anybody, again, who has lost somebody by suicide, I am completely empathetic to the situation. Some people, everybody grieves in a different way. I grieve, and I try to understand things, so I study them, and I try to talk about them and communicate them. And I think that's a tool that could have really helped Katelyn and her mom, for that matter, or you for that matter, or anybody who's depressed right now and watching this girl's story and trying to figure it out. Talking is never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to communicate this. And listening, even if you disagree, even if you just listen, just stop and listen, and just try to see things through other people's perspectives. And I think a lot of things could be helped that way. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope it didn't go too long. Thank you again for watching. If you want to watch the video of her and her mom having that argument, Again, disclaimer, do it at your own risk. I think it's incredibly revealing, and it's an issue that a lot of people can identify with right now. It definitely showed me her situation, again, what I think was her situation, her mother's situation, her mother's life, the issues they were both dealing with, and I am owning up to the fact that I gave the mom a really, really raw deal in my first video. And give it a listen if you like. Watch her other live streams. Again, I'll caution you not to watch the video where she takes her own life, but I do think the videos of her live streams where you see her talking and expressing herself are really good. And I think they should stay online, and I think you should check them out if you get the chance. I think they're very fascinating, and I think all of us could learn a thing or two from them. But don't watch them for too long, because you'll start getting a little depressed, like I did, or have been. But sometimes the hardest issues are going to make you depressed, and that's okay. You watch them, you try to learn something, you watch something funny, you know, but you keep trying to keep your mind open. So, thank you again so much for watching this, and I will see you in my next video, guys. Sending love.